Hi, my name is Jeremy. I go to Duke University and I study neuroscience and economics. The main subjects that I'll be teaching is AP Psychology and AP Econ. For the experience that I have in teaching, I've been teaching ever since I can remember, be it mentoring young students in English, science, humanities, to tutoring IB chemistry throughout high school for a year or two. In addition to that, I also teach English to Spanish-speaking people. I've also taught an introductory computer science course at Duke as well. Throughout the past two and a half years, I've also been teaching English to young students online through a video platform like this. So that you can know a little bit about me, I am a huge fitness fanatic. I love kind of exercise, and I'm also a huge kind of music fan. So any music or exercise fans out there, definitely love to connect with you on that. Hello, let's talk about AP psychology today, and especially let's focus on classical conditioning. What is classical conditioning? That is what we are going to learn today, and in fact, it's something about learning. So we're going to do learning on learning, some inception learning there. So what is learning before we dive right into it? Learning is a change in behavior due to past experiences. Okay, it's a change in behavior due to past experiences. For example, learning math, 1 plus 1 equals 2. In our past experience, we have seen it in a textbook. We have heard it from a teacher. We have physically counted 1 plus 1. Oh, now I have 2. So this is due to our kind of numerous past experiences. We know 1 plus 1 equals 2 and not 3 or 4 or 0 or A or B or an apple. That's why we change our behaviors and slowly tailor it towards what it is. We have learned that 1 plus 1 equals 2, and we can extrapolate that to many different aspects as well. Um, and in fact, we learn kind of in every minute and second of our lives. And what makes us kind of human is being able to learn from other people, learn from other people's experiences. That's what makes us able to be smart. That's what lets us able to kind of learn things at a much faster rate. Imagine you have to kind of learn through your own experimentation every single time. Then would we have the light bulb? Would we have a computer? No, no. We are able to have all these technology and everything because of learning. That is why learning is very important. In fact, you're learning this about learning right now because someone has experimented with certain things for learning. And within learning, there are three types of learning, okay? So let's learn about three types of learning, and then we can dive right into a specific example, classical conditioning that is, of experimentation that someone has performed and found out about learning. So sensitization, habituation, associative learning. Sensitization is when you are you've learned that a stimulation and so when we are talking about learning, there's a stimulus and then we have a response, right? 1 plus 1, stimulus, response, 2, right? And that can happen in many ways. Sensitization is when you repeatedly receive a stimulation, and then all of a sudden your response is bigger and bigger. For example, let's say you are in your room, and next door someone is kind of loud. So at first, and this can happen into both sensitization and habituation, and we'll talk about the differences there. Someone is getting very loud, and at first you're like, okay, great. Someone's pretty loud, I can't really read, let me kind of continue reading. It keeps going, and all of a sudden you're like, you get fed up, you throw down the towel, throw the book, run over to the other side, and you kind of try to confront the situation. Why? Your response has escalated to another level. Why? Because you are sensitized. You become, wow, this is incredible. Whereas for another person, they might become habituated, okay? Let's use another example. Maybe it's not noise. Maybe it's a smell. All right? You're in a classroom, a very tight, intimate classroom. No, you are in an elevator. Let's say you're in an elevator, just you and another person, and all of a sudden, someone lets out gas. Okay? I don't know if it's you or the other person, but it doesn't matter. Someone lets out some gas. And it starts smelling really, really bad. So at first, you have this kind of just pungent smell, and you're just repulsed. You're like, oh my gosh. Obviously, hopefully you don't kind of show that just to give your fellow escalator friend some respect. But after a while, you kind of don't smell it anymore. You are habituated to it. Okay? And your response, you're not kind of disgusted. You kind of just, okay, I kind of smell something here, but I'm used to it, right? It becomes habit, habituation, right? Sensitization, I am very sensitive. Oh, I'm getting so much sensory stuff, I can't handle it anymore, right? So sensitization is when repeated stimulus getting higher and higher. Habituation, same thing, getting less and less response. Okay, but today we are talking about associative learning, which is otherwise known as Pavlovian conditioning. And I know they say it's spelled wrong, but it is spelled right. We are learning something higher level than what the computer is capable of, which is also otherwise known as classical conditioning. Okay. So, what does this really mean? What is conditioning? I mean, we know what learning is. Is conditioning the same thing? Conditioning, in the most fundamental sense, is very much the same thing. Basically, remember what learning is? Who remembers learning? Learning is a change in behavior due to past experiences, right? So, conditioning is also some type of learning. You change behavior, or something changes because of past experiences. Think about an athlete, for example. Say a runner. When we say, oh, he is conditioning, or this athlete is so well conditioned, right? What does that mean? They are very athletic, yes, but they are capable of producing an incredible amount of athletic feats. They are able to run very fast, jump very high, swim very fast, lift very heavy weights, and that's all due to conditioning, right? They do interval training. They do weights training. They have all this stretching, mobility work, core stability. This is all conditioning the athlete, right? And this is because they have had many past experiences to build up towards who they are today. Obviously, this is not exactly parallel to what we're talking about here, but it's the same kind of theme. So knowing what conditioning is and knowing what learning is, we can now extrapolate and see what associative learning and Pavlovian conditioning, all of this meaning the same thing, what it is. To understand this, we first must define a few terms. The US, not the US of A, United States, but US is unconditioned stimulus. All right? The UR, you guessed it, unconditioned, what is it? Response, right? If there's a stimulus, there's a response. NS, neutral stimulus. CR, conditioned stimulus. And CS, conditioned. Just kidding. You didn't catch that, did you? Stimulus. Response. See, it is because of learning that I realized R stands for response, S stands for stimulus, not the other way around, right? And because of this, my past experiences has taught me that CR stands for conditioned response, and I was able to catch that error. You know, it's all about change and learning. Happens every single day. All right, good. So what does this all mean, right? Unconditioned stimulus fundamentally means it's a stimulus that is not conditioned. So, but okay, all this talk, what does this mean? You ask me, right? Well, so let's give an example. Let's think about a dog. Great, really cute puppy. What do you think about a cute puppy? You have hair, you have kind of a wet nose, really cute eyes. Great, but we want to imagine this dog. And why are we imagining this dog? It's because, and I'll get back to it. Just remember why we're talking about dogs, okay? So you have a dog and you have a bell. Okay, great. Now we have a dog and we have a bell. Good, it's not a taco and a bell, because then that'll be Taco Bell. But we have a dog and a bell and food. Okay, Taco Bell would be food. But anyway, we're talking about dog, bells, and food. So in this scenario, we'll slowly explain what all this unconditioned USCS means. The dog is our subject, right? Imagine that is who we are. That is the person, that is the thing, that is the animal, that is learning, okay? So we have a dog and we have a bell. Bell in this case would be the neutral stimulus, right? Why? Okay. Because when you ring a bell, normally you just hear sounds, right? It's like you walking down the street, you hear a bell, great. There's tons of sounds, who cares, right? So it's a neutral stimulus. It's a stimulus. You hear it, you're stimulated by it, but you're neutral about it. You don't feel one way or the other about the neutral stimulus, the bell. On the other hand, so we're imagining we're the dog. You're the dog, I'm the dog, we're the dog, right? So the bell to us is the neutral stimulus. Okay, so great. It's currently a neutral stimulus. Now, food, on the other hand, is an unconditioned stimulus. Why? Because we didn't need to condition you. We didn't need to teach you to like food. We all need food. We all love food. When we see food, we kind of saliva dripping down, and we kind of get hungry. Oh, just the smell of it smells good. In fact, just the smell of it. In fact, this is kind of a conditioned stimulus. But food in itself, when we eat it, we like it. We need food, right? Okay. So this is unconditioned stimulus. The unconditioned response is your salivating. It's your feeling, I really want the food. That's your unconditioned response, right? You see food, you want food. Same thing, dog. Imagine red meat for a dog wants to eat the red meat. So now we know what the unconditioned stimulus is. Unconditioned response, saliva. Neutral stimulus. What is conditioned? So when a dog sees food, they will salivate. When a dog hears a bell, nothing happens. But what if a dog hears a bell and then sees food? And the first time that happens, the dog will hear the bell, great, nothing happens, but then see the food, saliva happens, right? And what is learning? Due to past experiences. So let's do it again. You, again, give a dog a bell, and then you give him food. Slowly but surely, the dog will then learn that the bell signifies food. And how do we know this? Because after a while, after repeated kind of trials of this, the dog, when given the neutral stimulus, which is now the condition, because it's been conditioned, it has learned it, the bell, it will start salivating even before seeing the food. Now, isn't that pretty crazy? So this is the procedure. You first give the unconditioned stimulus. What is the unconditioned stimulus? Food. And you get unconditioned response. Saliva, hunger, craving. Then, so you know that this is an unconditioned stimulus. Now you pair the unconditioned stimulus with the neutral stimulus, the bell, and of course you get the unconditioned response because you have the food there. After a long while, this neutral stimulus is no longer neutral. You just give it the bell, it is a conditioned stimulus, and without the no stimulus, I mean by no unconditioned stimulus, I mean no meat or food, you will get saliva. And that is what happens. That is classical conditioning. It's a classical case. And remember how I told you to remember why we're talking about dogs? That's because Ivan Pavlov, Pavlovian conditioning, first found this by accident, kind of noticing the dog's saliva and everything, and tested this out. That is learning. And so that is classical conditioning. We can all tie that back to habituation. After a while, if you have the conditioned stimulus, the bell, and you don't give it the food, its unconditioned response of saliva due to the bell will slowly decrease because it's used to it. All of this different stuff. They're all connected together. But most important out of today is knowing what classical conditioning is. And that's when you pair an unconditioned stimulus with a neutral stimulus, turns that neutral stimulus into a conditioned stimulus without the unconditioned stimulus. Now that, my friends, is classical conditioning. So that's a little bit about me. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you've learned a little bit about classical conditioning. Next time, if you have a dog, maybe you'd like to try it. So I'd love to be able to get to know a little bit about you, work with you, and see you soon.